Good afternoon, everyone. I am Dr. Ashish Jain. I'm a trauma surgeon. I'm an orthopedic surgeon attached to the Hinduja Hospital, Mahim and Khar. And I would I'm so glad that you have joined this webinar by the Hinduja Hospital and Medical Research Center. It's, as you know, the topic we'll be discussing fitness and how these COVID times or the corona has affected many of us in our fitness goals and our health. I would urge you all to please ask questions in the question and answers section. At the end of my presentation, we will go through the questions and try and answer as many as possible as time permits. So without much ado, let me start my presentation. Again, welcome to this webinar. So what I'm going to be talking about today is mainly about, I'll be giving you the principles of, this is just an introductory part of the talk. It should be interactive. So I would really like you to ask the questions as the talk progresses. So what are the outcomes? What are we trying to discuss here today? Number one, I will try and define, because these are some vague terms we keep interacting. One is health, the other is fitness. What is health? What is fitness? Second thing we'll talk about are the obstacles which most of us face in our day-to-day lives to fitness. What happened during the lockdown? Then we will go to a little bit of the science. Being a doctor and a man of science, I will introduce you to certain principles which have helped me and which you should be aware of regarding the diet and the exercise and what are the principles involved. A little bit on how to apply this knowledge during the lockdown time. So that is my mantras or tips in a way to speak. And last but not the least, some amount of motivation. Some motivation for you at the end of this talk to get on your fitness goals and achieve your good health, right? Irrespective of COVID or the pandemic. So let's get going. So friends, let's agree on this. Other than health, everything in life can be managed. Everything, whether it's your career, whether it's your family matters, whether it's your financial matters, everything in life can be managed except your own health. That is entirely in your hands. So what is health? What is health? So as medical students and doctors, we were taught health is the absence of disease or pathology. But is it that simple? Health has three components. One is the physical health. One is mental health, very important. And that was something which was definitely affected during this pandemic and the lockdown. And also social health. Man is a social animal and our social bonds were hampered during this pandemic. So our bodies are constantly in a flux. So there is something called growth, which is happening all the time. And there is something called breakdown. So a balance between this growth, what is known as anabolic, and breakdown, which is catabolic. Between these two processes, there's a balance where our body lies, and that allows us to survive and adapt to our surroundings. That is health. So then what is fitness? We often confuse these two. Can you be healthy and yet unfit? Yes. Can you be very fit and yet unhealthy? Yes, you can. So fitness is a physiological state of our body which allows us to react to any external stimulus which is over and above our normal functioning. So what does that mean? Are you able to, if your lift is not working, are you able to climb up the stairs? Are you able to run after a bus? Or are you able to do some heavy work in your house if you're required to? Are you able to exert beyond your normal limits or your schedule? So that is where your fitness comes in. And fitness has a large spectrum. It is not about your body fat and it's not about how you look. There are lots of components, as you can see here: strength, balance, power, agility, muscle endurance, flexibility, very important, coordination, cardiovascular capacity. So this is the entire spectrum of fitness. So one must understand what is health and what is fitness. These are two separate entities and we must focus on both. But unfortunately, when we talk about health and fitness, somehow we come down to obesity. So obesity, or the abnormal accumulation of fat in the body, is usually looked upon as an unhealthy situation. And most of us, I'm sure most of you out there, have been battling this problem for years. It is a bad situation, and way before this pandemic of corona, obesity itself was a global epidemic in all countries and also in India. So why do we need to be fit? So this is all I'm talking about, general principles even before the pandemic. It gives you improved endurance, like I said, for long hours of work, traveling when you were in your meetings, in your offices, whatever your profession was. Strength, people who are in physical jobs, even at home, homemakers, people who are working from home, or even for day-to-day activities in the house, you need to be strong. You need to be fit. And last but not the least, your body image and persona. Friends, I feel that is an integral part of any profession, be whether you're a doctor or any business you're in. The kind of persona you project is very important, and your fitness reflects that. So let's agree on another point, that yes, we all know the benefits of exercise. Yes, we all know lots of benefits. As you can see here, strengthens the muscles, improves your heart, increases your bone density, improves your mood. And we'll talk about the exercise a little more in detail. So why are we not following this path? What are the obstacles? So these are certain obstacles which were there even prior to the COVID. And I'm sure many of you will identify with a few of these. Was it your work and career schedules, family commitments, not getting enough time, just not motivated enough? Travel disruptions, just traveling, your work involves too much traveling, you're just not able to sit or fix to a routine. Fatigue, you're just too tired to do anything. Or poor diet, right? So these are certain obstacles which were seen even before the pandemic. And maybe some of you were on some kind of a fitness path. So in some cases, it's just that you desired it, but you lacked that little motivation. So I hope you get some benefit from this talk of mine. Maybe some of you were already gymming, but it did not show. Marathon runners have increased by bounds, but still, I've seen so many of my colleagues and friends who were great marathon runners, but still struggled with that stubborn pot belly. Or last but not the least, maybe your diet was ineffective and you just need a little more guidance. But whatever the reason, suddenly all this takes a backseat. Why? Because in the last year and a half, we have the COVID-19 lockdown. So yes, this was for those of you who are waiting for some motivation. The motivation, friends, has found you in the shape of this pandemic and the coronavirus. So let's try and see what happened in the last 1 year. And I'm going to share my experiences with you as well. And I'm sure this is what all of us or most of us have gone through. In the last 1 year, we have been working from home most of the time. There has been restricted outdoor exercise or any physical activity of that sort. Gyms and clubs were closed. Maybe you were regular members somewhere. The mental stress sitting at home of this pandemic and of your future, your job, your family, that was a burden. Sedentary home lifestyles, just moving from the bed to the TV room, to the bed, to the kitchen. And last but not the least, the comfort eating. So these are the problems we were facing in the last year and a half. But what are the lessons we have learned? What are the lessons I have learned? And I would like to share with you. Number one, your health is your biggest asset. It is not your car, it's not the clothes you earn, it's not your jewelry, it is not your property. Your health is your biggest asset. Comorbidities like obesity, diabetes, hypertension, all these problems increased the risk for COVID. An individual's immunity was the only way to fight this infection, and it varied from person to person. So your diet and your supplements which you took were the potent weapon against this virus. Exercise enhances your defense mechanisms against infection. And last but not the least, mental health is essential to get you through these tough times. So friends, now it has gone way beyond fitness. It's now about survival. I hope you agree with that. So what's this got to do with orthopedic surgery? Why am I, an orthopedic surgeon, talking to you guys about fitness? So I have had my own little journey over the last so many years of fighting against my unfitness and my bad health. And the way I look at it, my life itself, when I look back, it was almost like in a lockdown, and I had to get myself out. So as a medical person, I can strongly tell you that I am the one who has walked the talk, and I hope I can give my experiences to you all to change your lives. So let's get down to the science. What is the science? So we all agree that fitness is 30% exercise and 70% diet, right? So this, I would like to introduce you to this diagram, and I would suggest you pay attention to this. When you talk about energy expenditure, or in layman terms, as we talk about calories, where do we burn our calories, right? So you can see in this chart, excuse me, the largest amount of calorie burnt in a day, that is about 60% of your calories burnt, is what comes under the heading of resting metabolic rate. So what is resting metabolic rate? Resting metabolic rate is the calories you burn doing nothing. When you sleep, when you're sitting idle, that's the amount of calories your body is burning for its daily functions. Your brain, your intestinal tract, your basic muscles, heart pumping, breathing, that's your resting metabolic rate, 60%. The other large group is the blue band, that's known as NEAT, which makes up about 20% of your calorie burn. What is NEAT? Is non-exercise activity thermogenesis. That's the calories you burn in your day-to-day activities. So whether it's housework, whether it's driving a car, whether it's walking throughout the day, or it's your job you do, that is what you burn on a daily basis. It's not exercise. 10% only is exercise. And the last 5% there is the thermic effect of meals. Now that's a little difficult to understand, but yes, our body does burn calories or energy when we digest and assimilate the food. So friends, this is where our calories are spent in a day. So we'll be focusing more on that resting metabolic rate a little later. So now let's get down to this basic equation. And this is what I was brought up with as a child, that it's a balance. So again, like I'm saying, we always equate fitness and health with obesity. So that's why I'm going to clear some myths which we have. So obesity has always been considered an imbalance, like a scale between intake, that is calories from your food, and output, as I showed in the last chart. So what happens is you have to maintain a balance. So if you want to lose weight, and that's what was told to most of us, told to me, you have to burn more calories, that is move more and eat less, right? Whereas if you want to gain weight, some people want to gain weight, they're too thin. You need to eat more, move less, but key is to eat more. So this was supposed to be the fine balance. And if you're perfectly where you are, you will maintain your weight. Sounds very logical. And this was the theory. So it is believed that our body is like one large vessel. So all the calories you eat in a day come in, your body utilizes what is needed, and the calories spent go out. And whatever is stored is the balance. Is it that simple? So based on this theory, this is what most of us do. And this is what I did for years. So what did I do? Okay, I have to move more and I have to eat less. So I went on these crash diets, just cutting down my calories, just having liquids, water, nimbu pani, those kind of drastic diets, and lots of exercise. And when I say exercise, usually it's go for a jog, run, go for walks, just sweat it out, just sweat it out. What happened? There was muscle loss. Yes, there was weight loss, but more of muscle loss. My body started slowing down. And at some point, after the first few kilos, the scale got stuck. So what did I do? I ate even lesser and I worked out even more. And that further caused my muscles to waste. And I ended up being always hungry, very weak, and very frustrated and irritable. Till a point came, I was frustrated, stopped the diet, stopped whatever activity I was doing, and the weight just bounced back. And I was fatter than before. And this is those typical yo-yo diets, which many of us have tried. I have tried myself, and they don't last. So the first thing to know is, are you going for a weight loss or is it fat loss? And I'm sure most of you out there who are looking at a weight loss plan are actually talking about fat loss. We all want to lose that little fat from here and there. It's true. How is it different? Because when you talk about fat loss, you are doing with proper nutrition and training, not with what I described in the last slide. It will improve your fitness, your strength, your endurance. It delays aging and it reduces the risk of many diseases, and that is pertinent today. So this is the new theory, not the intake output. So the new theory of obesity is about the hormonal theory. So what does it say? High insulin or cortisol levels will cause you to become obese. And that makes you eat too much. And that doesn't allow you to exercise. So friends, the entire spectrum has turned. So we do not get fat because we overeat. We overeat because we get fat. Now, does it make sense? It sounds very convenient, but let's see the theory behind this. So the theory now, instead of the single vessel, which I described, is the two compartment theory. So calories come in. When I say calories, let's talk about carbs, because especially in an Indian diet, carbs are the fuel for our body, right? So carbs are the fuel, protein are the building blocks, and fats is the stored energy, right? So when you talk about calories coming in, let's stick to carbohydrates. Carbohydrates come into your body. There are two compartments it goes into. The first compartment is your fridge. What is the fridge? The fridge is your liver and the muscles. These are the glycogen stores of your body. What is glycogen? These sugar molecules are bound into compact molecules which are easily broken down for energy. So that's your fridge. Open the fridge, have a bite and get out. It's easily accessible. The extra calories are stored in the freezer. So in many houses, the freezers are separate. So in many bungalows and all, you'll find the freezers in the basement. So that is your fat store. So the body is smart. The calories or the energy it requires for daily activity is kept accessible in the fridge. Rest of it goes into the freezer. And who controls this? It is insulin. So insulin decides whatever is required for day-to-day activities is kept there. The rest of it is all gone to the body fat, and the insulin locks it there. As long as insulin is present, it will not allow the store to empty the calories, right? You will only use the fridge. So what's the normal pathway? So you eat sugar or eat high carbohydrate diets, body will release insulin and the sugar drops. The sugar drops, but the high insulin spike causes the remaining calories to be stored as fat. As a result of that, now the sugar is down. The calories have gone into the fat stores, but you don't have enough calories for your day-to-day activities. So you start getting hungry, you start feeling exhausted and tired. And what does that make you do? That makes you hungry for more sugar and carbohydrates. And this entire cycle repeats itself and you get fatter. And this insulin gradually starts accumulating fat in our bodies. So yes, one has to mind calories in, calories out. You have to be a little careful. But what most of us, and what I was very curious about, how do I mobilize the stored calories which I have in my body when I'm fat? What about that? How do I know that is being used when I exercise. Yes, I'm sure that's what you're also thinking about. So when you fast, not eating anything which causes an insulin spike. So there's no insulin, the police inspector is not there. Your fridge is empty. Why? Because there's no calories coming in. Your fridge is empty. So now insulin is absent. So now your freezer is accessible for energy use. So that is where the energy will come from. And that is what, friends, is the principle of intermittent fasting. Fasting is something which we have seen in our Indian culture for years, in all religions. And I'm sure many of your parents and grandparents have followed this. So this is something which has helped during these COVID times. So intermittent fasting, you have an eating window, usually 8 hours, and you have a fasting window of 16 hours. You can decide, it's very flexible. So in my case, I would eat ideally between maybe 12 noon to 8 p.m., but it can become 11 to 7. I can decide based on my work. And the remaining 16 hours, I'm fasting. So how is it different? How is it different from calorie restriction? It's the same. In 8 hours, if I eat 2000 calories, and in 24 hours, if I eat the same 2000 calories, why is it different, right? So the difference is in this chart. You see this. So in a calorie restricted diet, you are restricting the amount of calories in every meal. So you're eating lesser. In a time restricted eating, you are eating adequate amounts, but in a shorter period of time. That is a time restricted. It's not the quantity they're restricting. So what does it do? It keeps you full. You get satiety, or your hunger is curbed. You don't get hungry that often. Your insulin is controlled. Like I said, your insulin goes down and your fat can be mobilized. Very important, which does not happen in a calorie restricted state. You keep having little meals, you keep getting these insulin spikes throughout the day, however little you eat, right? Metabolism is actually boosted. It doesn't get suppressed. You will mobilize fat because now that's the only energy available because there's no food coming in for those 16 hours. So you will be more energetic. People think that when I'm fasting, I'll be lethargic. No, your body has its mechanisms in place. You will feel more energetic and less lethargic because you're not getting those sugar swings. Okay. So this is just a quick chart as to what is to be done. The things allowed during the fasting is lots of water, black coffee, green tea, or even black tea for that matter. Nothing should be had which causes a insulin spike. So nothing which is even no artificial sweeteners, no juices, nothing, no milk also. So it has to be a clear tea or a coffee. And this is and what you have in those remaining 8 hours will decide the efficacy of your diet. So as you can see here, there are more of vegetables and meats and high protein and fats. But yes, if you're just looking at it from a health point of view, if you're not very obese, you can have what you want during those 8 hours. So there are lots of benefits, lots of medical benefits. But the things which I found most important during these COVID times, one was it restricted my calories. It kept me disciplined. It allowed my fat to burn. It regulated my eating pattern. I was sitting at home during a lockdown. When you're surrounded by food and nothing else to do, you will keep eating. But if you have decided time restricted eating, it helped me discipline better. And last but not the least, the medical benefits. It helps protect against diseases, actually boosts your immunity if followed properly. So that was a little bit on the diet. But is diet the only thing? There are lots of hidden factors for fitness which also have been compromised during the COVID times. Sleep. You must get adequate sleep, what is known as restful sound sleep for 6 to 8 hours a day. Lots of water intake, hydration of 3 liters a day is essential. Fiber is often compromised, especially when you're having junk foods. So when you're having whole foods, grains, vegetables, you get a good fiber. 30 grams a day is important. I take Isabgol as a supplement on a daily basis to supplement my fiber intake. Mindful eating. So even sitting at home in the lockdown, you should designate a time to eat, sit down, stop using your electronic devices, focus on the food, chew it well, appreciate every bite. And that is called mindful eating. And last but not the least, stress management. You must find ways to calm your nerves and get that positive thinking going on, because that itself will affect your fitness goals. And how is that happening? Because if you are stressed, if you're not getting enough sleep, you're constantly getting worried about the situation. Like I said, the body secretes a hormone called cortisol. This is the stress hormone. So what does it do? It breaks down all your muscles and amino acids. It mobilizes the sugars for energy. This muscle is used for energy. It enhances fat deposition. Now, that's the crazy part. It enhances fat deposition, especially on the stomach. So all of you all who are battling the belly fat should look at this cortisol as the cause, and how to reduce your stress is very important. So, and last but not the least, it will predispose you to diabetes. So this is something which you must consider, and this is something which is not often spoken about, the stress and the mental effect of your health on your fitness. So we spoke of the diet, we spoke about the mental issues. Now let's talk about exercise. What about exercise? What's the science of exercise? So friends, at the outset, let me tell you this, and this is something I strictly follow. For me, exercise is not a punishment for what I have eaten. It should be a celebration of what your body is capable of. So whether it is, and I'm not saying going to the gym, I'm talking about whether it's your Pilates, whether it's your yoga, flexibility, dance, a sport, focus on that. Don't use it as a compensation for your poor diet. Okay, so diet is very important. Calorie count is important. So many people say, it doesn't matter how much you eat as long as you exercise. No, friends, it's not that way. Do not overestimate the power of exercise. Do not. Okay, and as an orthopedic surgeon, I can tell you, exercise is done wrongly, and too much focus on exercise has its problems. We'll come to that later. Genetics plays no role. It's not that some people can eat as much as they want and nothing will happen. No, it's just the metabolism is such. There's no genetics involved. And lack of exercise doesn't make you fat. It's your diet. Your diet is key. So let's just look at it from a practical point. Many of us think like this. Okay, I had 2 samosas. So how do I burn these 2 samosas, right? So that's 350 calories. You need to run for 2.5 kilometers to burn these 2, if it is going to burn. But like I said, it's not that simple. Chips, you just had a handful of chips. 50 grams, 270 calories. You will have to do brisk walking for an hour and a half. Still doesn't make sense. You may try it, but that's not the way to reach any point of fitness, friends. Okay, so I hope I made my point. So coming back to this important chart, which I gave you all some time ago, let's get back to this. This is the crux of this discussion. So how do you burn calories while doing nothing? Even when I was in the lockdown, how do I ensure that my body is constant and I'm not getting fatter, I'm not getting more unfit? So focus on that 60%. How does one do that? Strength training. So what does strength training do? Now, when I say strength training, don't just jump to lifting heavy weights and gym. No, strength training is putting your body and your muscles against resistance. It can be body weight exercises, it can be calisthenics, it can be with those exercise bands, it can be Pilates, it can be power yoga, so any form which helps you. But there has to be strengthening, not just physical activity like walking and running. No. So a good workout causes these muscles to come under stress. As the muscles repair themselves, they will become larger and grow. Your metabolic rate, that last chart which I showed you, the red box, goes up, and that increased muscle mass will burn calories even at rest, and that will burn your fat stores. Okay, so strength training has to be focused on. And another benefit of, so although if you see in this chart, in this diagram, muscle occupies lesser space, it's more dense than fat. So you may not lose that much of weight or dimensions initially because the muscle is compacting your body. But the more important part is 1 kg of fat burns just 10 calories a day, whereas 1 kg of muscle burns up to 105 calories a day doing nothing at rest. This is important. So let's talk about cardio. So yes, many of you have been doing cardio. So this is a nice chart which talks about three forms of cardio, 3 forms of exercise. The first column is the treadmill. Second column is elliptical or the cross trainer. And the third is strength training, like I told you. So what happens is in that 1 hour that you're doing the exercise, all these 3 modalities will burn similar, maybe 550 to 600 calories, similar, right? But what happens the rest of the day and the next day? Now that's the difference. If you see the chart, once your exercise is done, the calorie burn after the exercise is over in the treadmill column and the cross trainer column is hardly 150 calories. Whereas in the strength training column, the muscles, because you're stimulated this muscle strengthening and the protein synthesis, your calories will burn throughout the next 24 to 48 hours, similar to your exercise time. So doesn't that just make more sense? So as a doctor and as an orthopedic surgeon, let me introduce you to what is exercise then? What is exercise? We spoke of physical activity. So what is exercise? Exercise has to be purposefully directed. It is a purposeful activity for that 1 hour. It's not doing housework. It's not cleaning the house. It's not about driving your car. It's not about climbing stairs or walking to work. No, that's not exercise. It has to be purposefully directed for a fixed period of time. It is a physical activity, yes, but it should be above the resting threshold for your body. So it should challenge. It has to challenge your body, right? And by challenging your body, it stimulates certain changes, what is known as positive adaptations, in 2 ways. One is mechanical. Actually, your muscles are being stimulated. The muscles will grow like I showed you. Second is the metabolic. How does your body with strength training increase calorie burn or your fat burn? That is the thing we are focusing on. So that is how you must target exercise. So how much is good? Like a medicine. So I consider exercise like a medicine. It has to have a dose, it has to have a strength, and it has to have a duration, right? So you must decide the volume exercise, how much exercise is required for you. That's the dose. What is the intensity? Like a medicine, the power, how much strength you need to apply and for how long. Don't do overtraining, again, is bad. You must get the maximum benefits with the least wear and tear. That is important. And believe me, friends, I have done this on myself and I treat so many patients with injuries to their joints, their muscles, their backs, their knees. And then you realize that it is all done in full earnest to get fit, but the body does wear and tear. So be smart, find a balance between getting the best benefit with the least wear and tear, right? So these are some guidelines I would give you. Okay, how do I select which is exercise, what exercise form is best for me? You must enjoy it. You must enjoy your exercise. It should fit your time constraints. You should be able to sustain it. Now, this is not just during lockdown when there was enough time, but when you get back to your work, it should fit into your schedule. It should be suitable for your age and your health status. So don't just go about doing things which your neighbor is doing or what somebody else has suggested to you. See, is it suiting your body system or not? It has to make you stronger and fitter. It's not about the sweating. It's not about the calories you're burning. It has to have a benefit to your body in the long term. It should be sustainable. You should be able to be consistent. You're not going to get very quick results. Be consistent. So like I said, maximum stimulus, but least wear and tear. Focus on that. So decide which is the best exercise, which is suiting you. It can be any form. Stick to it and be consistent. That is the best exercise for you. And friends, now it is not just about health and fitness. As we grow old, we will lose our muscles. So this is a term often used in the finance fields, use it or lose it. Same for your muscles. And this is a CT scan through the thigh of a 20-year-old on the left and a 70-year-old on the right. As you can see, there is a significant loss of muscle and the fat has increased. So this is a condition called sarcopenia. And this is now being recognized more and more as a worrying problem in our population as we grow older. So beyond 50 years of age, all of us will lose 0.5 to 1% of our muscle mass every year. And that gives rise to weakness, imbalance, altered gait. You're not confident. And I'm sure you've seen your senior generations walking around, not confident of walking alone. This is very common with a sedentary lifestyle, but it is reversible with proper exercise. That is strength training, which I spoke of. So now let's get down to my mantras. You must train insane or you will remain the same. And that has been something which has given me dividends. So like I said, I'm walking the talk and I'm trying to motivate you with some of my mantras. So it's all about the intensity. You have to be intense during your workouts. Now this was in the gyms, but suddenly you find the gyms were shut. And trust me, for me, it was a mentally and physically depressing time. Last year, 2020 in March, when the gyms shut down, March it was, I thought this is the end. Now my fitness is going to go for a toss. What will I do at home? I've been always going to the gym. I've been on these fixed diets. So suddenly I was, and like all of us, and this is all over the world. It's not my house. It's not your house. It's not our country. It's the entire world was in lockdown. So friends, it's all about your outlook. So what was my outlook? What was my outlook to this lockdown? So it's like looking at a glass which is half full versus half empty, right? So how do you look at this lockdown? So the way I looked at it, it gave me complete time management. I was in charge of my time. I was forced to be at home, but now I will take charge of my time. My schedule is in my hands. So there was no traveling. There was no office or hospital unless there were emergencies. Yes, we were working during the lockdown. It gave me complete control of my diet. There was no eating out. There was no carrying to food to work excuses. No, I can't carry, I can't do this, I can't do that. In the hospital, I don't get these foods. No, you're at home, you decide what you eat. Surrounded myself with healthy foods. So yes, comfort eating, but the right stuff. And the third thing was, it gave me complete control on my exercise management. So I didn't have to dress up. I didn't have to wear something fancy, pack my gym bag and go to the gym. My gym was at home. I could work out whenever I wanted. There were no time restraints. There's nothing like this time in the day or this time in the night or in the evening. And there was no training involved. So there's no pressure. Someone like me is crazy about, my personal trainer and this and that, and how much will I lift? I did as much as I could. So there was no pressure of exercise, right? So this is how I looked at this lockdown in a positive way. So what did I do? So what was my principle? Like I explained to you the science of intermittent fasting, I started following the pattern of intermittent fasting, 16 hours fasting, 8 hours eating. That not only gave me discipline, but also, like I mentioned, regulated my eating times, although I was sitting at home. Now, again, like I said, it's not that I'm supposed to go for dinner at 10 o'clock in the night. We are at home. It's a lockdown situation. So you eat your meal by 8 and that's it, right? Things to avoid. What did I avoid? I avoided high or refined carbohydrates, things which cause a very massive insulin spike. Like I showed you, insulin is the culprit. So avoid sugars, avoid refined or processed foods, avoid all liquid calories. Do not drink your calories. That's one of the ways of cutting down on your calories, because liquid calories, friends, doesn't satiate you. It just goes in and then you're ready for more. Protein. You must have adequate protein. I ensure for my body weight up to, not every day, but up to 1.5 gram per kg. And when you cannot supplement it with food, if you're vegetarian, whey protein is a good option. Multivites. Like I said, your immunity decides your fighting power against the disease. Calcium, B complex, zinc, vitamin C, and vitamin D have all been established as good ways to boost your immunity and fight this virus. Keep a schedule. Work from home, keep a schedule at home. And unfortunately, I don't have a hobby of my own, but I'm sure many of you have hobbies. The way to occupy your mind is to focus on some hobby. You can start a new hobby, and these are things which helped during the lockdown. And you must have a home exercise plan. And friends, believe me, there were times when I felt I was wasting my time at home doing exercises because I was used to a gym setup, but I just did it for the mental boost. The day I did not exercise at home, even for that 1 hour, whatever I did, with whatever I had, I felt mentally low. And then I was looking at the empty part of the glass, not the full part. Yes, so exercise, even today, I exercise mainly for the mental boost. So these are some examples I would just like to share with you. How did I get through lockdown? One was freehand exercises to be done. So use your own body weight. Again, freehand exercises with whatever you can. These are Russian twists for the abdominal muscles. Body weight exercises again for the legs. You must strengthen your leg muscles. So if you're not able to do a complete squat, use a chair, use a stool. Just make sure you can stimulate those lower back, glutes, and the quadriceps muscles. I procured these resistance tubes just at the beginning of lockdown. So these give a good resistance. They have handles. So this is something you can use at home for upper body. And there are lots of videos available on how to use these for strengthening. Like I said, focus on strength. It's not about just doing cardio. I attacked the furniture. I started doing exercises with my chairs and other pieces of furniture. This is for my arms. I filled buckets with water. As they say, idle mind is the devil's workshop. So these are some of my workouts I did. So this was using a bucket. The important thing is here, you have to control it well. Don't spill the water in the house. You'll have to clean it yourself. So I used it for squats. I used it for my back workouts. I used it for my arms. Again, the idea is to use some resistance for the muscles. How to use anything which is available for resistance and improving your strength, keeping those muscles going, right? Then as the unlockdown came close, there were some opening up last May, and I procured some dumbbells at home. And this was my gym. So my living room became my gym with whatever furniture I could get. And still, whether dumbbells or no dumbbells, you must keep the intensity. You must focus on the intensity. Like I said, exercise, the intensity or the strength of that medicine should work for you. So don't be comfortable. Don't play within your comfort zones. You must feel the strain, and that's the way your muscles will grow, and that's the way you will increase your metabolic rate. And like I said, the idea is way beyond what you look. You need to keep your muscles, your bones, your joints strong as you age. It's all about being smart. So this is, you must use your supplements, your diet and workouts in your favor. Be smart and use the science which I've just shared with you and come up with your own plan. You can take guidance from wherever you want. We will also have question answers at the end of this, and get into a routine which will benefit your health and your fitness. Yes, I also thought this, I'm too fat to exercise. But friends, you need to start to be great. You have to start somewhere. It's either one day or day one tomorrow, right? And one of the biggest benefits I feel, and for the next generation, your kids, you must set an example. Your children will not follow what you say, they will follow what you do. So be an inspiration, make your family healthy at the same time. So Mitron, to end my talk, the take home message for you is you must stay locked, but not down. Remember that. Anyone can get fit if you follow the science well. Diet is the key. Watch out. Don't let that insulin spike. So avoid sugars and processed foods. That's the least you can do. Strength training, please focus on strength training. It's not about big biceps, it's not about six packs, it's not about how you look. You keep that muscle mass, the muscle mass will keep you in good stead for the rest of your life. Avoid excess of cardio. Cardio is good, but don't depend too much on it. So win this war against COVID, emerge fitter, healthier, and stronger. And that is my goal today. There is lots of more information for those who would like to. In the lockdown, this is another thing I started. Like when you say hobby, I started putting my fitness thoughts onto this Instagram page. So those of you who would like to follow it, that's my page. It's called Jack Doc. And there I periodically put my workout videos, my fitness tips, and my nutrition advice. So friends, with these principles in mind, let's get ready. Yes, people talk about the third wave, and there may be a fourth wave and a fifth wave. As many waves as they come, we will ride these waves well, and we will emerge fitter and healthier. So take care. Thank you so much for listening to my talk. And I would like to now call Sonam to
Hi, Doctor.
take a few question answers.
Sure. We have a couple of questions coming up. So are we ready?
Sonam, are you there?
Yeah. Doctor, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. So we have a couple of questions. First question is, how do you control the acidity during the intermittent fasting?
Okay. So see, that's a good question. So what happens is, yes, many people do have an acidity problem. So you suddenly find that not eating food is going to trouble your GI system. Black coffee, green tea may not really suit it. So I would suggest, if you are having a significant, see, many times if it's borderline acidity, it's just a question of getting used to it, right? In my opinion, as a doctor, I can tell you two options. One is judicious use of antacids if you have been taking in the past, but better to contact your physician, maybe a gastroenterologist, and get a plan. So many times, like I said, you can, if your acidity can also be in a certain time of the day. So if you want to, the thing about intermittent fasting is you can either skip breakfast or you can skip dinner. It's up to you. So maybe you wake up in the morning, have breakfast, and end your meal by 3-4 o'clock. So that is also doable. So there are ways to play around it, but yes, if there's a significant acidity problem, please contact a gastroenterologist and take advice from them.
All right, doctor. The next question is, what needs to be done for knee pain that just happens all of a sudden and goes away?
See, knee pain, there are two types of knee pains. The one knee pain is in young active patients, active people, let me not call them patients. So young active people where the cartilage is normal, you can get knee pain. This is normally seen during squatting, sitting cross-legged, wherever your knee bends more than 90 degrees. It's a reversible thing. It's just the cartilage which is softening a bit. Good protein intake, calcium, vitamin D, and certain do's and don'ts in your sitting posture usually corrects it. In the elderly or the middle-aged, if arthritis has set in, mild osteoarthritis, again, the knee pain can start. There, it requires a little medical supervision to adjust your workout plans, and the physiotherapy definitely helps to strengthen your quadriceps and hamstring and calf muscles, and this will prevent this knee pain from accelerating. But usually, I would say proper correct exercise form and certain restrictions in your knee range of motion are adequate.
Okay, the next question is, being a teacher, lockdown has stuck us to the chairs. I've worked for nearly 4 hours at one place, later work also on laptop for major hours. So how do you explain the resting metabolic rate?
See, like I said, resting metabolic rate is when even when you're sleeping, you're watching TV, your body is burning calories and energy for your daily functions. So even if you're sitting at a laptop, even brain function as a teacher, brain function also requires calories and energy to be burned. So sitting, but the idea is sitting or a sedentary lifestyle will waste the muscles. So sitting in one place will cause back pain, knee pains, those kind of aches and pains in the body. So some balance has to be there. So sedentary lifestyle, sedentary jobs have to have a balance. And this may not reflect in your younger days. As you grow older, they will catch up. So please, whatever form of exercise, you can do yoga, you can do some kind of body weight exercises, but you keep those muscles strong. Sitting will not trouble you, but sedentary activities will hamper your body systems.
The next question is, what is the best cardio exercise for senior citizen?
The best cardio exercise, number one, is brisk walking. Number two, if you have access to a gym setup, cycling with the back support, what is known as a recumbent bike. Third is a cross trainer where you can even exercise your upper limbs. Fourth, there are other cardio things you can do at home. Now, these are modifications. So they are knee ups, they're called. You just stand and raise one knee at a time. So these are, so jumping jacks and all are not for the senior citizens. So you have to focus on low impact exercises. So there are lots of them available, but which can be done on a mat or even standing in one place, marching and those kind of things. But I would suggest brisk walking, static cycle, and cross trainer are the best in senior citizens for just keeping the heart rate going and keeping your cardiac function without stressing your heart.
Okay, the next question is how to strengthen the lower leg muscles.
Yes, so that is very important. Lower leg muscles is something which are always neglected, whether it is in the gym or it's in the house. So like I showed you, see the advantage of lower leg exercises is you can use your upper body weight, right? So when you're walking, you're climbing stairs, getting downstairs, your legs are moving your own body weight. So the heavier you are, the fatter you are, the more your leg muscles are already being exercised in your day-to-day activities, right? So to strengthen them, there are things like squats, leg raises. You get ankle weights, which you can apply on your ankle and do leg raises, side raises. But if you are starting off, I would suggest, please meet a good physiotherapist. For example, Hinduja Hospital, we have online physiotherapy from Hinduja Hospital. Get a pattern, get a guidelines from, the technique should be right. Because see, as an orthopedic surgeon, I'm treating so many people who, like I said, start exercise in full earnest with the best intentions, and the injuries start, the pains start, and then they are confused and everything stops. So a little supervised exercise with a good physio will get you into the proper lower leg exercise plan.
How to manage exercise hunger and limiting the quantity of eating.
Yes, so that comes under one word that is called discipline. Discipline. So another thing is willpower. So what is willpower? Consider willpower also like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. So yes, there is always a temptation. And as you can see, you've seen my journey. I have had enough of temptations. It's not easy to reach from where I was to what I am today. But the two things I would say. One is you have to want it so badly to make that change that the discipline will automatically come in, number one. And number two is you must picture yourself where you want to be. You picture your goal. So every time you are hungry or you're tempted to break your diet or skip your exercise, think of the goal, think of why you started. But if you ask me for the daily hacks, what do I do when I get hungry? Number one, drink lots of water. Number two, I have Isabgol with water, which fills my stomach. The hunger goes. Number three, sometimes when I've had a meal, I'm feeling a little munchy. I take a sugar-free chewing gum, put it in my mouth, keep chewing it, hunger goes, right? But as far as exercise is concerned, you must designate a time. If you're in the unlockdown, if you're going to a gym or you've decided exercise time, just change your clothes, start your exercise. The motivation comes in the next 5 to 10 minutes. Don't wait for motivation to start. Motivation will catch up later on. Just Like they say, dress up and show up. That's the principle.
Should I do intermittent fasting daily or some days in a week?
That's a good question. So intermittent fasting also your body can adapt. So I also keep it flexible. I, depending on my schedule, some days I have surgeries or I have a very heavy schedule. I cannot be empty stomach, or I'm just not able to focus or something like that. I'm not able to follow the meal timings. So I would say, if you can, depending on your goals again. So intermittent fasting has got too many benefits way beyond fat loss. So even for people who are healthy, normal, it boosts your immunity, it detoxifies your body, it's supposed to sharpen your brain function. It has anti-cancer effects, what is known as autophagy. You must read about that. So there are too many benefits. It regulates your blood sugars, it regulates your cholesterol. So at least try and do it twice or thrice a week. The rest of the days, and the discipline you learn during those fasted days will help you even in the non-fasting days. You will control your portions automatically. So it helps. But yes, you can decide how many days you can do it. And you can also keep the hours flexible. Some days 16:8, some days 14:10, some days 18:6. Some days I fast for 18 hours and eat for 6 hours. Keep it flexible so your body is not getting used to the schedule. Try that.
My mother has rheumatic arthritis and needs to lose weight, but she can't exercise at all due to her physical condition. What can she do to help herself?
Yes. So see, that is the problem which many people face, especially middle age and later. The body is already complaining. There are already diseases happening. So like I said, do not overestimate the power of exercise. Focus on the diet. Focus on to get a good dietitian or a nutritionist opinion. See, get a food chart. What is she eating? Is she having too much of sugary? Is she having too much of refined carbohydrates? Is the protein less? Are the fats going in a very large quantity? Start with that. Get the diet in order. Once that is done, then with proper medical supervision, get some basic exercises going, like walking, physiotherapy exercises at home, strengthen the muscles, not just cardio, because a person with rheumatoid arthritis cannot do too much of rapid movements. Cardio will not help. Strengthening exercises for the upper body, it will support the joints. So it's a tricky situation, especially in the elderly, but it is doable. But like I said, exercise is not the focus. 70 to 80% is diet. Get that controlled. Then whatever exercise she can do with her medical problems, she should.
Next question is, should intermittent fasting different for women?
No, it is the same. There is no change. There's no difference. In fact, I feel intermittent fasting works better for women because the insulin control is much tighter.
When should we do workout, in morning or evening?
There is no, see, if you ask me for, there are two ways to look at it. Like I mentioned in that one slide, which is the best exercise for you. The best exercise is that which fits your time constraints. So you decide your schedule and what is the time that you can stick to on a regular basis, right? That's the best time, right? But if you ask me what the principles I follow many times is, I do my cardio exercises in the morning when I'm empty stomach or fasted. And I prefer to do my strength training in the evening when I've eaten and my body has more glycogen and energy in it, in the muscles. But again, now look at the situation. Gyms close by 4 o'clock, right? In Mumbai, there's a curfew. Gyms are open from 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. So I cannot finish my work and then go to the gym. It's too late. The gym is closed. So today I finished my workouts in the morning, irrespective of my diet, and I get the benefits. So you decide your schedule, but yes, strength training is better when you're eaten a meal, and many professional athletes and bodybuilders will do strength training in the evening and cardio in the morning.
Do I need to wear a face mask while working out in
Absolutely
gym or a
not.
public place?
Absolutely not. because face mask, see, I'm not the authority on COVID. We have our chest physicians in our hospital, but COVID is an airborne disease. It's an airborne virus, right? So in a closed room with the AC on, there's a chance of you getting COVID infection from others, right? So, but if you're, so ideally, if you're exercising in an open environment, you're going for a walk, you're going for cycling, you're somewhere outdoors or in an open gym, mask is not required. The other problem with the mask is it will hamper your oxygen transfer to your lungs and your blood. You'll get breathless and you will not be able to function. You'll not be able to exercise properly. So masks are not recommended. So people sometimes wear those face shields. Again, it's pointless because you're wearing the face shield. The air is going from the sides. So it's not really helping you. So in my opinion, the face shield is an absolute waste unless you're looking at somebody sneezing directly on your face or coughing on your face. So a mask is better as a protection, but during exercise, please don't wear it.
Okay. Next is one of my friends, she eats lots of junk food, but still she is very slim. How come?
Okay. So, like I said, it's not genetics. It's not genetics. It is just how that person's body is handling the carbohydrates, right? So when you say junk food, we're talking about carbohydrates, processed foods. That's junk food. There's very less fiber and there's very less water. So bread, pizza, burgers, this is junk food, cakes, those kind of things. So in the initial years of your life, these people are digesting those carbohydrates because they are called insulin sensitive. So insulin sensitive people, when you have high carbohydrates, the insulin spikes, it converts it into glycogen, it goes into the liver and goes into the muscles. It does not become fat, right? People who are insulin resistant due to some hormonal issues, or like I said, obesity causes you to become lethargic and eat more, right? It's a reverse. You become insulin resistant. So when you're insulin resistant, the junk food which you have, especially refined carbohydrates, go straight to your fat stores. They are not used by the muscles. So you're always tired, you're always lethargic and hungry, and you're just getting fatter. So yes, but if you follow these people up over the years, at some point, the pancreas, which are the organs that secrete this insulin, will pack up. And they are very prone to developing diabetes later on. So yes, in the younger population, but again, it has to be in moderation. So you can't have unlimited amount of junk food and expect your body to handle it. It doesn't work that way. Our bodies are not designed for that kind of, our bodies are designed for natural foods. So junk food is a no-no, but in moderation, you can have it, especially on your cheat days.
Doctor, we are receiving many questions, but I think we'll take the last question for the day.
Okay.
It's like, what was your motivation for your transformation?
Okay. So that's a good question. It's a personal question. May not work for everyone. So for me, see, I've seen many people who were obese, and you've seen the photograph which I showed you of how I used to look. So I've seen many of my friends who are obese and they have a lot of positivity about themselves. So there is no sort of drop in their self-esteem. But in my case, it was not so. I had major issues with my self-esteem and my body image of myself. It was not tolerable. I had to change it. I could not look at myself in the mirror. I could not accept I felt I was not being accepted by society. So that was my goal to start with. I just wanted to look normal. Means when I walk in a crowd, I don't want to be noticed. Nobody should look at me. Nobody should jeer at me. So that was my starting point. But then I started getting interested and I started enjoying my workouts. I started enjoying my strength training. Fortunately, did not focus too much on cardio. So then I realized that now it's giving me changes in my body structure, which I like. So it was never about getting muscular or getting some certain kinds of a body physique. It was about not being fat. And then the deeper I got into it, I got the other benefits of exercise, especially the mental boost. And I feel as a doctor, when people look at me, when I say persona, remember when I said one of the biggest benefits of fitness is your persona. So how do you project yourself? So as a doctor, patients come to me. I'm a trauma surgeon. I see patients in casualty where they are at the rock bottom, fractures, and they're really dejected, and they're looking at a tunnel which has no light at the end. So how do I project myself, my positivity? So unless I'm happy within, that happiness I cannot share with my patients or the society I'm supposed to serve. So that came later on. But for me, it was just fighting that stamp of being obese. But everybody has their own goals. You have to set your goal. And from what I have given in my talk today, you have to decide whether you is for the health benefits or for the long-term benefits, anti-aging benefits. But you have to decide your goal and stick to it. And that was my motivation.
Okay, thank you, Doctor, so much for such an amazing session. Would you like to give some takeaway, message?
Yes. So I hope I have been able to convey some positivity to all of you from what, as a doctor, the basic principles which I follow in my journey and which have helped me. These are not in black and white. Fitness and health is a very gray zone. It doesn't work for everyone, but these are certain basic principles which do stand their ground. Like I said, you can follow up with our Hinduja page and our Instagram page, and you can also follow my page for any further questions regarding the medical part. For, like you said, knee pains, back pains, I do consult at Hinduja Mahim and at Khar. And we also have online video consults for those who are not very comfortable coming to a hospital setup. So you can go to our site, hindujahospital.com, and fix up a video chat appointment with any of our consultants, including me. So friends, stay fit, stay healthy. COVID may be here to stay. And like I said, we have to ride these waves. We have to focus on ourselves, on our health, and do what is required from us. Keep social distancing, wear your masks, be responsible citizens, take your vaccine, please take your vaccines. And we have to get through this together. Stay fit.